We've had a pretty good break in the summer, and even that doesn't feel like it's long enough.
You don't need breaks. It's your passion and life. I can hear it.
Yes, Sam. It's your passion.
Yes. No, I don't think so. This is a hobby, I would say.
When I was listening to the 6th episode of Endymion, you sounded a little bit tired, but otherwise it's very passionate.
Go figure. Hello and welcome to Book Retorts. I'm Sam.
I'm Danielle.
And this is the podcast about sharing your weird media finds with your friends who don't know what you're talking about. But Danielle, you definitely know what I'm talking about today, don't you?
No, because I can't remember any of it.
Well, that's good, because I brought help for you, Danielle, someone who is intimately familiar with all things Hyperion and is a huge fan of the work. It's our friend Filip from the Mind Duck Books podcast.
Yay!
Hi, Filip.
Hey. Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me.
Praise the strike.
Praise the strike.
I have to say, you all listeners know that Sam has casted a curse on us, and this is the time it's gonna be lifted. I'm so excited because it's gonna be probably like 27 episodes, and after that, gonna be done with the 4th book, and the curse has forever been lifted, and we will never talk about this again. But until then...
Filip, you mentioned to me there was a 4.5 book?
Yes, before we started recording.
So the curse continues!
Why?
I was trying to make sure that this is gonna end forever, and it's not. However, the 4.5th book is a short story that's only 40 pages, so we can do that.
Okay, maybe that'd be a bonus episode.
That's gonna be fine. We can make it through 46 pages or how many. So
I'm
sure I
impressed
could
he
drag it
managed
out.
to write something that was only 40 pages.
Exactly. I'm very curious. Maybe he got it all out in this book because this one is 700 pages, and then he had like a little bit more to say, and yeah. He had to do it.
Well, now, Filip, you've read Hyperion, yes? Mm-hmm. And you've read The Fall of Hyperion. But you haven't read Endymion. Well, that's great because...
He gave up.
Totally fair, because Danielle here, as our resident Hyperion expert, is going to fully summarize the previous book to catch everyone up on what happened in Endymion.
So hyped. So hyped.
Endymion is the name of a character and a place.
Yes, good.
They go
Do you
on
remember
a
his
road
first name?
They go on a road trip. No, Raul.
Raul.
Raul sounds like Paul, but Raul, and that's very confusing to me.
We'll get into it again. He talked about his name again in this book.
I remember.
And he goes on a road trip in the water.
And space. Space and water.
He's stuck in space. That's how it opens. He's stuck in space in like a Schrodinger's cat box.
Which is, again, completely
Not
misunderstands the concept of what a Schrodinger's cat concept is. To be pedantic, but yes, it's a death sentence chamber that will randomly kill him at some point. So he is writing down his memoir, which we are supposedly reading in this book.
Sorry to interrupt, but this was the reason I decided not to read the 3rd book.
It's a good first reason. You're like, I don't need a framing device for my space operas. Thank you very much.
Also, he said that I shouldn't read it, so I complied, at the beginning.
I'm like that too. I did this. I had the same reaction to the series of unfortunate event books, where it's like, if you like happy things, don't read this. I'm like, all right, you've convinced me, book.
And I'm supposed to be contrary.
Look, they're asking for it. All right, so you remember the framing device. Very good.
Okay, yeah, he's in space. And then it starts that he's working in some town with ducks. He takes people out on boats.
Yeah, he takes some duck. I'm surprised you remember the duck hunting thing. That's incredible.
Good job, me. That may be the only thing I remember. And something bad happens, and he ends up killing them. They attack him or something, and there's a dog, and it dies. And spoiler, everybody. And and then he ends up being thrown in jail. In space jail?
No, this is regular jail. He's going to be executed.
Okay. But he's not executed because what's his face shows up.
Give me his name. It's everyone's favorite poet.
Martin.
Yeah, Martin what?
So this starts with an S?
Yes.
Salinas?
Yeah!
You got it.
Got two. Martin Salinas shows up.
You know so much about these books, Danielle. Your brain is stuffed with Hyperion knowledge despite your best efforts.
Martin Salinas shows up and he's like, hey, you're important. And he's like, no, I'm not. And he's like, no, you really are important. Gotta go do stuff. I don't know.
Good. Now, Filip, if at any point you want to interject here to either offer a tidbit or ask a question,
phone a friend.
I have so many questions, but I'm enjoying this very much, so I'll let Danielle talk first.
I want to make sure this is for you, so I want to make sure you're getting the most out of this.
So he decides that he's going to go on an adventure.
What is his adventure? What is his call to action?
He has to go get what's-her-face from the caves.
Not the caves.
Okay, wherever.
Where's the most famous place in Hyperion?
The caves.
No.
What is it?
Where does the Shrike live, Danielle?
In the caves.
They're not caves!
Tunnels? What are they?
No, you're getting there.
You're getting there.
The Sphinx?
Almost.
Which is one of the...
The caves?
No.
Not the caves. Philip, please. I'm going to tap you in on this. What are they called? The time tomb.
What? I'm saying diff.
A Sphinx is not a cave, and a time tomb is not a cave.
Time Sphinx, I would have taken it.
But there are cave tombs, so that are separate from the other time tombs.
Oh, there's time tombs. He has to go and get her Aenea.
I will give you a pass on every remaining summary of Hyperion if you can name all the time tombs.
Yeah, not even.
Oh my god, I can't do this.
Okay, well, it's worth a shot. Continue.
So he has to go get Aenea because she's like coming back from time where she got sucked into the tombs.
Right, so she went into the time tomb. How many years ago did she leave?
That's my question. Yes, I need to know.
100? 3 years ago?
But what does this
more?
What does this mean? Like she's traveling through time. So are you asking when she got in it or when she got?
So she is coming out in a few days from the time tomb when she's emerging.
Exactly. It's a trick question.
How long ago did she enter the time tomb to be teleported?
Wasn't it only a couple hundred years in the future?
Yeah, it was about 250, 270 years.
So 270 years ago, she went into the time tombs, but she comes out and she's a kid, like 12 or something.
Well, because she goes in when she's 12 and comes out when she's 12. Like, she goes in the future.
And you could have mentioned
That's how time travel works.
If she wasn't a child.
Well, no, okay. Storytelling, yeah, it causes a lot of problems. Time travel-wise, it makes sense to me. You go in and you come out in the future. That's how time tombs work. Come on, basic time tombs 101.
Well, he gets her, but there's a big fight with the government people.
So, let's take a step back here for a moment.
Wow, that was a perfect summary.
You talk about the government. What is this government?
It's the Catholic Church.
Yeah, it's basically a theocracy, a theocratic autocracy, whatever you want to call it.
With Father Captain, whatever his name is.
Father Captain? Oh, give me the name
de Soya.
Of him. De Soya. You're nailing the names. Federico de Soya, yes.
I remember that guy.
It might be forever in my brain.
So yeah, Father Captain Federico de Soya was tasked with
getting Aenea because they think she's like the demon child or something.
That's the story they gave to de Soya. Yeah.
Yes, supposed.
So he brings like a whole army to capture her.
Right, in their magic ships. And it doesn't work.
Because of who shows up?
The Shrike.
Yeah, my buddy the Shrike.
I actually don't remember that. I just assumed with the prompting that was probably what
always the Shrike.
Oh wait, they get into a big fight and there's like maybe multiple Shrikes, but not.
Yeah.
Okay, well anyway, so what's his face? Raul.
Not Raul.
Raul and Endymion.
Like Raul doll.
Raul and Endymion takes Aenea and they jet off into space.
In what vehicle?
The Archangel ship.
No, that's the Soya.
The other one. And what's his face's ship?
Yes.
The guy that didn't have a backstory. His backstory was dumb. Piano.
The piano guy, yeah, very good. The console.
Yeah, the console. No named console.
Yeah, it's his ancient ship. Yep.
Right. And
you know what? Just to be clear, because I really want to get all these little details. What was inside the console ship's computer? What was the AI inside of it for a time?
It was the
I'll give you a hint. It's always this thing.
Yes.
It was the guy who was the Keats guy.
Yeah, it's a Keats. It was a Keats. It was a Keats inside the ship.
Keats all the way down.
One of the
It's always Keats. Yes, but no longer, whatever that Keats conscious is, it's no longer in the ship, big mystery, etc.
Okay, sure.
I just want to make sure we get our Keats in.
Then there's a big cat and mouse chase thing that happens, and that goes on for way too long.
Yep.
And then they finally land a ship or wreck the ship or something happens with the ship.
Mm-hmm.
They end up on a raft from the ship.
Wow, you're nailing this. This is
the
incredible.
Shrike comes randomly to hang out in the ship for a second and then disappears for no reason whatsoever.
Yep, 100%.
Then they go down in a raft and they're like cruising down the ocean or whatever through the ocean water.
Do you remember the name of this river?
It's Tethys.
Yes.
Wow.
Danielle, how upset are you?
Wow.
How upset are you that your brain is full of these facts and nothing else? Like, these are the things you remember.
This might be the best summary I've ever done in my life.
It is incredible.
It could fall apart at any moment. No guarantees. So on the river Tethys, they're going through the portals, and Aenea is trying to find an architect.
Yep.
And it's a dumb architect. It's not even cool.
What do you mean it's a dumb architect?
It should be something way cooler. Instead, it's what's-his-face.
Who?
I don't know. The architect.
I don't think we've learned who he is yet in the book.
No. Okay, so they go through the river Tethys, and they end up in at the what is that place called that has has the guards on it, and they decide that they're going to go to the dock, and they go on the dock, and then there's a big fight, and then they think that what's-his-face is dead, but he's not.
Oh, you mean the ocean planet?
Yeah, sure.
Just think of a vaguely Latin word for big ocean or infinite ocean.
Mare infinitus.
Mare infinitus, yeah.
Wow. Close enough. And so they're on the docks, and the guards find out that they're on the docks. They had the fight. There's blood in the water. There's a whole stupid thing about the blood in the water. And then he secretly escapes.
Yep.
And he's found by a Bettik, right?
Yep.
And they go back they're back on the raft. And then de Soya figures out somehow magically that they're maybe on this planet, and he shows up there, and then he finds a mug or something that's out of place.
Yeah, fingerprints on it. You got it. Wow. Danielle, I am flabbergasted at how well you're doing.
Me too.
Our whole episode might just be your summary.
I genuinely did not think I remembered this.
This is incredible. I am baffled.
So he runs
the details that don't even matter. Like the mug, you could have skipped the mug.
No idea that
fine.
happened at all.
That's how he finds out that he was there.
Who cares? You can skip over even the ice planet doesn't matter.
Oh yeah, the ice planet. Thank you. One of the portals they go through, there's an ice planet. There's stupid wraith things that aren't wraiths.
Yeah, the wraith that aren't wraiths.
Those I do remember.
I'm so mad about it.
I certainly wish they would come back, because they always set up all these things, so I am praying that they will be in the 4th book.
Yeah.
I want there to be actual wraiths.
Yeah.
Stupid Yeti wraiths sort of thing.
Now, do you remember the one important thing that changes here? Who shows up with de Soya on the ice planet? Besides his crew of Swiss Guard commandos, if you can remember their names, Gold Star.
No.
Okay.
What do you want from me?
I mean, I'm just saying how I believe you can do anything at this point. Nothing's beyond you. It was Gregorius, Key, and Reddick.
Yeah. I kind of remember that.
Yeah.
But
one of them, Rettig, died mysteriously from a bad jump, and was replaced with Rhadamanth Nemes.
Yeah, that's the guy.
I remember, but I don't remember.
Yeah. Yes, she is like a hybrid TechnoCore person that could, go into the silver suit for shifting time, like the Shrike can do kind of stuff.
Yeah, this is probably where my memory breaks down.
That's fine. She just shows up there. It doesn't really matter.
They eventually get off the planet, right?
Yeah, they leave that planet, end up on which is the planet where the climax occurs.
I don't know.
How many planets can you name for the Hyperion universe? Let's start at the beginning.
Big climax.
Hyperion. Very good.
Was it at Hyperion?
No. There's no river Tethys on
Heaven's
Hyperion.
Gate or whatever.
Close. It's a very similar theme to Heaven's Gate's another planet that they don't visit. It's where the Templars come from.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
It's called God's Grove. So you're pretty close.
It's possible. How am I supposed to remember all these things? He doesn't even remember all these things.
Simmons? Yeah, no, probably not. So they end up there.
And then there's, I don't know, probably a battle. And
there's
maybe
a big showdown.
I don't remember how it ends at all.
All right. So I'll summarize this ending because it's sort of where we pick up. Nemes, I'm just going to call her Nemes because I think I called her that last time. Who cares? She sets a booby trap on the river there. They booby right into it. But they manage to get out of the water and she attacks them. But guess who shows up to save them? It's the Shrike.
It's always a Shrike.
Always a Shrike, but she uses a special device that Core gave her to send the Shrike 5 minutes into the future. So she buys herself 5 minutes of time to finish killing or capturing Aenea.
I don't remember that.
Yep. That's how she defeated the Shrike. But then Raul uses the ship's engines to melt all the rock around Nemes and trap her in molten rock beneath the ground so they can escape with the help of... I don't remember that either. With the help of de Soya. De Soya helps them do that. Does that. And so de Soya has kind of a change of heart when he sees Nemes and is that's not right. I gotta my conscience is more than this, and sort of lets her go and gives them their ship so that they can go on their journey to where they're supposed to go. And then de Soya and his crew limp back to the Pax sans Nemes.
Are you sure you told me that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hey, Bettik loses an arm in the fight, and they have to stitch it up in the autosurgeon in the dropship from de Soya. Yeah, okay. Anyway, they end up, very last part of the book is they make their last translation from God's Grove to Old Earth. That's we're here. And that's how the book ends.
Sure it does. Good job, Sam.
Good job, Danielle. You got 9% of the way there, then you just fumbled at the 10-yard line.
Don't remember any of that.
Yeah.
Philip, questions for Danielle.
So many questions. I don't even know if I should ask them. But I was trying to make sense of this so I can set up for the final installment in the series that will answer all the questions and definitely clear everything up. And I'm also have some questions for you to predict if we will get these answers. But
and that'd be perfect for Danielle to figure out if we can do some predictions. I love this idea.
But just to make sense, a little bit to make sense, what's happening in my head, with these timelines. So the first two books are kind of happening at the same time, right?
Yeah.
The third book takes place 100 years later then?
270 some years after the end of the second book.
And some of these characters, I don't understand how they're still alive. Like Martin Silenus.
So, Danielle, do you want to explain how Martin Silenus survived so long?
Doesn't he get age treatments or whatever they're called?
The Poulsen treatments, yes.
He gets treatments, yeah.
Yeah. And he also has time debt and a cryo.
Yeah, there's so much going on with this guy, and he's still a setter, is he?
No, he got that changed back before he left the city.
I remember that.
I forgot that. Okay, thank you. Well, he's there.
Before even Hyperion, that's part of his story is, before he even joins the Pilgrims, he's back to being human, fully human.
So then Raul... Or Raul, is he?
Raul.
Raul. I know they say in the book specifically, that's how far I got, that you should pronounce it as Paul. I remember that part. The writer was even excuse me.
It gets better. I have a better way to pronounce it that comes up in this section. It's delightful.
So, is he a normal person? What is the deal?
Yes.
Is he a human?
He's 30 years old, normal dude, 28, 30, something like that.
Okay, never mind. So, then
he's just a regular guy who was born 200 years after the fall of the Hyperion.
Okay, this is not so important, whatever. So, then there is Aenea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh-huh.
Is she a child? When she comes out of the time portal?
Danielle?
Yeah, she's 12-ish.
She's 12 years old.
How is she doing all this stuff when she's 12? So she's high?
Because she's the Jesus child. She's magic. Child. She's a child, wisdom beyond her years.
So whose child is she, Danielle?
She's the child of the cyberpunk lady.
Yeah.
And one of the Keats.
It's BL.
She's
the detective and the Keats.
Yes, Braun Lamia. Lamia, remember, very important name.
Yeah,
and
Lamia.
Johnny Keats, the one cyborg who became the consciousness of the console's ship. She is that child.
So she is a half cyborg something, or she's a full cyborg?
Well, I mean, she's all human. genetically, but her brain was connected to the datum plane through the Schwann loop. Like, this is like technobabble stuff I love. It's great. Through the Schwann loop in Bronlamia, which held the consciousness of Johnny Keats, her ex-lover / father of her child. So basically, she was connected to the TechnoCore in utero, and therefore was like conscious during the gestation, was absorbing all this information, and basically like having an accelerated, I don't know, I think the Neo with Matrix downloading, Neo getting his brain downloaded stuff into his brain. So that's like, she's not normal. She has like special magical properties from her time as a child of two biological humans, because a cybrid is a biological human, but their consciousness is an AI in the TechnoCore.
Yeah, I get that part. I get the knowledge, Dune reference and stuff, but how about the body? Is she powerful? Is she just like...
Nope. As far as we know, she's a human child with special, like, a very strong personality and some, like, psychic or I don't know what the psychic is, like clairvoyant abilities.
Okay. So then there is all this army connected to the Pax military.
Yep.
So there is all these people, and they are all trying to stop Aenea.
Yep. Because
they just feel like...
They think she's the Antichrist and she's going to destroy the church.
Did they know she would come?
Yes.
How did they know?
Good question. It was not answered.
No. I think I might have asked that question too.
I mean, I can tell you the answer now because we're going to get to it in this book, but basically... You remember how the TechnoCore can predict the future through all their probabilistic models? That's basically how they do it.
Okay. So then there is Nemes.
I like
Nemes, but just go with yours.
Nemes. I'm going with
Neme.
So he's a secret agent from the TechnoCore. Sorry, I somehow sounds like a he for me. I don't know. So
yes, she's a cybrid with like a super advanced Shrike-like cybrid from the TechnoCore.
And she sneaks into the Pax army somehow and pretends to be under de Soya?
Sneaks or is appointed. So there's allusions to it in the previous book, but it's pretty explicit the Pax is working, the church at least, is working with the TechnoCore. Like the TechnoCore gave them the knowledge of how to use the cruciforms to not destroy their brains. And so there is a partnership there.
Okay.
And so they were working with the TechnoCore to slip her, unknown to de Soya, but the Cardinal Lourdusamy, one of the Pax leaders, was very much aware of what she was.
I didn't even talk about the cruciform.
Yeah, the cruciform is one of the things I have to say I like the idea of, like one of the few things I genuinely liked from the third book, that they upgraded them.
It's a really cool idea.
Yeah.
And I do think, to Simmons' credit, basing a whole society and like space travel around the cruciform, like, oh, we can do space travel that kills you because it's so powerful, because you'll just be resurrected. Like, that's a really cool idea.
Exactly what I meant to say. I like that idea a lot.
It's very good. So, I mean, credit to Simmons. Like, there's a lot of things I don't like about his book, this book in particular, that I think are weird and not necessary. But I think there are also some really good ideas in the cruciform, top notch, right up there at the top.
So last guy I needed to clear up, because that's the only character that's been throughout the whole series. It's Lena or Hoyt, like Father Hoyt.
Lena Hoyt. The Pope.
Yeah, so he resurrected onto himself like a bunch of times already. Who is he now?
Yep.
Is he?
He's still Lena Hoyt. He's always Lena Hoyt.
He's still Lena Hoyt.
But he's also
he used to be they used to switch, but then the other guy died.
They used to be Father Duré, and he would alternate. Yeah. And we'll get into that in this book, actually.
No. So is he?
But Leonard Hoyt has been reelected Pope 9 times before. So this is the 9th incarnation of Leonard Hoyt as Pope Julius the whatever. The 15th, 17th, 27th, I forget.
You guys who are listening can't see me, but I'm shaking my head furiously. I can't deal with this.
He's very upset about this.
Has he done anything important in the third book?
No.
I thought so. Okay. That's all my questions.
No. Mostly, the first book was concerned with some of the machinations of the other other church powers like Cardinal Lourdusamy or the Grand Inquisitor, the Opus Dei, and those kind of things. So those come into more play. The political stuff really ramps up here in the second book, much like how in The Fall of Hyperion, all the political stuff with Mina Gladstone ramped up in the second book.
Okay, I think you've answered everything I needed to know to have the
incredible
basis to what's happening. And
that's all. The only question you
I
had.
had many other questions,
sense.
but this is
10 out of 10.
No
problems.
Yeah, this is just I needed to know who's where, what's what, when is it, where is it. But
all right.
If you don't mind, I have a few very very quick prediction questions.
I'm going to ask you that. What questions do you want Danielle to predict?
Is it?
I can't predict this. I've read it, so.
You can predict if it hasn't been answered yet, if it's in the 4.40 pages book.
Sure.
So is it...
Watch, all the stuff he asks is going to be in the 40 pages. You don't know.
It's just like a list of... It's like a glossary of, do you want to know who the Shrike is? Here you go. Do you want to know who that was?
It might be like the Dan Simmons' version of the Silmarillion.
So are we ever going to know who the Shrike is and why he's doing anything?
No.
Danielle, very certain, no hesitation.
It just feels like something he wouldn't explain because he's evil.
All right.
Because, okay. So
there's your answer, Philip. Question 2, please.
Okay. So, is it going to happen that for some insane reason, the writer will be in the story?
You mean
Simmons?
Dan Simmons or Roland Endymion, who is writing the story that we're reading?
No, Dan Simmons will literally be in the story.
He's going to like Alfred Hitchcock himself into his story.
Or be like God.
Something like that, yes. So,
I'd say there's like a 75 to
80%
80% chance.
Wow.
That's very high.
Yeah.
Not ruling it out completely, but I really think that he's likely to. Doesn't he seem like an author who would put himself
exactly right? Right.
Sure.
Because I've noticed a strange trend that if you get like a very very good series and then you go to the book like 6, 7, very often the story turns out to be like somebody writing the story itself, and then you like break the fourth wall and they send some information through time and space into a different universe, and then that's the writer writing the story himself, and always something like that. So
interesting.
Very afraid.
I thought we already had that with Roland Endymion writing the.
But he's a fictional character.
Yeah,
so this is going to be the next level. It's going to one up in themselves.
So it's going to be like a Tiny Toons when they do the opening of Tiny Toons and they pop out of the animator board.
So
all the references go back to Tiny Toons.
So sorry, kind of a same question, but is it going to be revealed that Martin Silenus is Dan Simmons?
I think if there is any self-insert character, the tortured artist who is misunderstood but is actually a genius as Martin Silenus, I think that is the most Dan Simmons character.
Yeah, I think that's him. I think the whole time I was reading this, I think that's him.
Or at least who he views himself as, possibly. Like, I'm not in his head. But I don't know if that's like he's actually going to be like, surprise, I'm actually named Dan Simmons from the 20th century.
Like a Scooby-Doo reveal.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, one more. Is it going to be revealed that everything is a simulation in the TechnoCore?
Ooh.
That's a possibility as well. I'm going to put that as high as him just randomly making an appearance.
Okay. Well, you heard it here, folks. If you want to place bets, the odds Danielle has laid out are there. You can contact Filip to be our bookie.
Okay. Feel free.
Yeah, we'll see how that plays out. Maybe you could win big.
Send your bets at mindtechbooks@gmail.com.
Perfect. They will not be honored.
Just putting that out there now.
Yeah, we have no legal ability to pay or receive any money.
So before we get into the in-depth plot, I have a very slight tangent, very short. We talk about these book covers all the time, and I love the Japanese book covers. Please, listeners, if you're curious, look up Hyperion series. Japanese art, like, it's amazing. There's so much going on. It's wonderful.
They look like Star Wars or stuff. It's really great.
But I would like to bring your attention to the American book cover of the 4th book. And there is something very important I noticed. And I am curious if you noticed as well. Is there something...
I haven't even looked at it.
Very, very specific that is finally correct and was never correct before?
Oh, the 4 arms!
Does the shark have more arms?
Finally, the Shrike gets his 4th arm.
How did that happen? How did they finally make it? It's been so long.
I guess that artist finally read the book or something.
How did it take them?
Maybe I should read the things I keep drawing for.
Nah.
So I checked all the covers, like all kinds of editions, and this is the only cover in all of them where the Shrike has 4 arms. I cannot deal. It's hilarious.
Amazing.
Okay.
You know what? Better late than never.
Yeah. So I expect in the 4th book that suddenly he's gonna have like 6 arms or something, because...
Oh yeah, because you still have to miss 2, I get it.
I wish I had 4 arms sometimes.
It might be the case. We'll find out this week on Book Retorts.
Okay.
Brought to you by Sam.
Oh no. Brought to you by the Shrike. DJ Shrike, playing in a city near you. Get tickets now.
Brought to you by security dogs for malls.
All of our greatest ideas. Dehubridifier. Remove your hubris now.
Thank you so much for catching me up. I won't delay any longer. I feel satisfied with your recap. And kudos to you, Danielle. It was an amazing recap. I am very...
That was 100% your best summary ever. Yeah. How angry are you that it was for Hyperion?
A little bit mad about it. I swear to you that I have not thought of single thought about it between
that probably
you finishing
helped.
and now.
It probably helped, to percolate through your brain.
Yeah, I went into my long-term memory.
Yeah. Well, all right. So we're going to get into it now with the Rise of Endymion from 1997, Part 1. Now, I'm going to apologize in advance to all of our listeners because this is going to be an extra long episode because, boy, do we have a lot to get into and a lot to skip in the first section. So as we start, you can imagine what is the first thing you think appears in the novel?
Hyperion.
The word? No.
No, the planet.
No. It is poems, poetry. Poetry comes first.
Yeah, that was my second guess. From Keats?
So, no, actually, from a bunch of other people. Marcus Aurelius. But there is a letter that Keats wrote his brother that is put here. So I'm just going to read that to you because why not? We haven't had enough Keats in our life. Yeah. So Keats writes to his brother, "If what I have said should not be pain enough, as I fear it may not be, I will but you," it says sick there, so it's clearly a mistake, "but you in the place where I began in this series of thoughts, I mean, I began by seeing how man was formed by circumstances. And what are circumstances but touchstones of his heart? And what are touchstones but provings of his heart? And what are the provings of his heart but fortifiers or alterers of his nature? And what is his altered nature but his soul? And what his soul before it came into the world and had these provings and alterations and perfectionings and intelligences without identity? And how is this identity to be made through the medium of the heart? And how is the heart to become this medium but in a world of circumstances? There now, I think what with poetry and theology you may thank your stars that my pen is not very long-winded."
That's where Simon gets his rum.
Yep, and the letter to his brother. So, clearly very important to the story, integral, everything I just said makes total sense, and will explain all the secrets of this book, so remember every word.
Touchstones of the heart, got it.
Touchstones of the heart. It sounds like it's a song from like,
1987.
Not Total Eclipse of the Heart, yeah, but like Touchstones of the Heart. A ballad of some kind. As we begin chapter 1, though, it actually begins with, "The Pope is dead. Long live the Pope."
Is he going to come back alive?
Again. I mean, that is the premise.
He's not really dead, right? He's dead. How long are they dead? Is it like 24 hours? How long does it take to come back?
Well, we're going to get all into that, aren't we, Danielle? So the Pope died in his sleep, and the news is spreading fast, and there's pages and pages here all about how the news spreads around the Pax, like how there are 85 ships were spun up and are going off to the farthest reaches to spread the news, and in 3 weeks and 8 months of time dead, everyone will know the Pope is dead.
But what does it matter? Because the Pope's coming back.
Yeah, so, I mean, great question. But, if nothing else, you must stand on ceremony, right?
Suppose. I think it would lose all meaning if you just kept coming back.
I don't know. I think the Catholic Church would still find a way to make it into ceremony every time.
By the time other people find out in like 3 weeks, would he be alive again?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Carry on.
Yeah. So apparently, Leonard Hoyt, the current pope, has a weak heart. I'm guessing from all the ultramorphine he had when he was still under pain from the cruciform. And he won't let anyone fix it, because God's plan or something for his heart is to keep him dying.
Penance or something.
Who knows? So now we cut to Cardinal Lourdusamy, the second most powerful man in the church, and his aide, Odie. Odie's full title, FYI, is Substitute and Secretary of the Cipher. Does that matter? No, but dang, it sounds cool, though.
Are you sure? It might matter in the end.
Nah. So, the cardinal is meeting with 4 other people, the heads of the Pan-Capitalist League of Independent Catholic Transstellar Trade Organizations. So remember that. But that is
no,
the name.
hard pass.
All right. It's called the Pax Mercantilus from here on out. It will never be referred to as the Independent Catholic Transstellar Trade Organization at all, which is unfortunate because I love the Pan-Capitalist League of Independent Catholic Transstellar Trades Organization. The only people who are really important here are one named Isozaki and his protege, Anna Pelikagnani. So 2 leaders of CEOs of some big, powerful mercantile operations. During the meeting, the Mercantilus expresses their interest in the upcoming papal election and imply that, should Lourdusamy usurp the current pope in some way, that they will support him fully. Like they're basically saying, we got your back, buddy. We're going to stand by you no matter what.
Are you allowed to usurp a pope?
Well, remember, there's going to be a papal election that has to happen. So there's going to be a papal election. And should it somehow be engineered that Leonard Hoyt is not elected pope, but instead someone else...
I'm curious.
Sure.
When they have these papal elections.
Yes, they have a whole chapter as a papal election.
That's great. But I mean, in real life, does God tell the people voting who is the best choice to be voted for? Or is it just whoever is voted for, therefore is the chosen one from God? Even though it's chosen by humans?
So God is working through the cardinals. So there are 3 ways to get elected, apparently. There are 3 ways to get elected, apparently. I remember 2 of them, but he goes into detail about how all of them work. And there's acclamation, where all at once they all shout the name of who they want to elect. And if there's a unanimity there, that person becomes pope. That one's
does it have to be somebody that's in the pope circle that's running for pope?
Nope. Can be anyone they want.
Could be just some random person in a different country.
Now, traditionally, a cardinal is elected to pope since the cardinals choose the pope.
Right.
But theoretically, I think there is no restriction other than they have to be an ordained Catholic priest of some kind.
Sure.
And so for the last 8 or 9 elections, it's been unanimous acclamation for Leonard Hoyt to be the Pope. Everyone's been like, he's our guy. If that fails, we'll get into the second method, which goes into effect later.
Yeah, I'm sure we will.
Oh, boy.
Because otherwise there wouldn't be a plot.
Basically, he does a lot in this book, especially in the beginning here, where he's like, one of his characters will say something like, as you know, the papal elections work this way. And the next 5, 6 paragraphs, 2 pages are all papal election script. Like, well, thank you for telling me, Cardinal Lourdusamy. I appreciate that. I'm going to skip most of that. And if you want the details, Wikipedia exists. So go nuts.
What if I want Samapedia?
Good. It's closed. You didn't donate to our fundraiser.
Website shut down.
That's right. So basically, Lourdusamy shuts down the Mercantilus. Is like, nope, I fully expect that Leonard Hoyt will be elected again, and that's the end of it. Which is basically him saying, look, even if there is a conspiracy, I don't need your help. I got this. Yay, machinations. All right. So we cut to an Archangel ship, the Raphael. Remember it? This is our favorite ship.
Yes.
It translates into God's Grove, but aboard is not Father Captain Federico de Soya. Instead, there are 3 beings who are basically all the same thing as Nemes. They're just two
Nemi,
brothers.
Please.
Nemi. There are 2 people that are like brothers and one that's like her twin. They're all basically the same mold, basically, as her.
Did de Soya get fired for not
We'll
doing
get to him
his job?
in just a moment.
Okay.
So the 3 Nemes, Nemes.
What do you think, Philip?
Moments. I don't know.
Nemai?
Nemenus.
Are they constantly interconnected, sharing thoughts and such?
They communicate.
Were they Borgs?
They do have a subvocal communication through the 75 megahertz band we learn later. So yes.
Oh, that's not an answer I wanted to hear. Okay.
The things I learned from this book that I can share with you. I love, look, Simmons does techno-babble so well. Say what you want about Simmons, but man, he can techno-babble with the best of them.
It's like techno-poetry. It's not like techno-babble.
It's actually, I'll get to this in a bit. But anyway, so all her siblings, they land in God's Grove. They find the area where Nemi was entombed. And they, blast the area open and retrieve her from the rock. And Nemi's like, where's Aenea? Gotta get the Nemes in me. I'm like, Anemia, what's going on? All right. So Nemi is all, where's Aenea? I want to catch her. And she's like, They're like, yeah, she's gone. She got through the last portal. You don't know it, but you've been in there for like 3 or 4 years, trapped underground. It's been 3 or 4 years, so that's our timeline now. And she was basically left there as like punishment for like failing her mission. They left her there for 4 years. But now Aenea is coming back, so they dug her up to continue the mission. So she's back.
In action.
From outer space.
I was about to ask, but I'm not going to ask. I'll just...
No,
I'll have patience.
Ask.
You're supposed to ask.
It's not going to be answered.
You can ask, and I will tell you.
Questions he's literally going to answer 30 seconds later.
All the freaking time.
It's like my whole job.
I was about to go to the previous book because the TechnoCore wasn't really playing a huge part. So I guess Aenea is just the chosen child, so the TechnoCore has to get her by any means because reasons.
I believe, if you remember from Hyperion Original Flavor, remember the human ultimate intelligence, the human god has 3 parts,
that
right?
That part I remember.
Yeah. So Aenea is one of those 3 parts. She is the empathy part of the human ultimate intelligence.
I didn't know that.
Remember, they tried to like create that through Keats and using the Tree of Thorns to torture humans to try to draw out the empathy part that fled backwards in time because they didn't want to do the fight with the machine ultimate intelligence in the future.
Oh.
And so ostensibly, I think the implication here is that Aenea is that.
I was just about to say, when did they say that's that she is it?
Well, because the idea was, again, from the first book, is it was supposed to be one of the Keats hybrids. He was supposed to be it. But instead, it was not the Keats hybrid. It was his child that became this mythical. And if you remember, at the end of the Hyperion, Fall of Hyperion, Braun Lamia gets like magic powers to defeat the Shrike, like turns to glass. And Moneta tells her that like, those powers actually come from your child, but we figured the woman carrying the empathy portion of that should be given those powers as a bit of grace to help her in the at this moment.
That actually helped a lot. I didn't expect the answer. Yeah. Thank you.
And Dan Simmons writes an airtight story. No problems.
Yes. No questions.
Thank you.
So I hope that helps.
Yeah, I didn't expect that it would actually be answered. Yeah, nice.
I didn't either, but here we are. So Aenea's back, and it's time to get back on that. So now we cut to the desert world of, please guess this name, Danielle.
Desert world. Drylandius.
Close. Philip, your turn.
It's called Duna.
Think more Catholic.
Is there stuff in Catholicism for dry land?
The desert things are red herring. It's named Madre de Dios.
Oh, sure, why not? Totally would have gotten there.
So good. I was like, go to Madre de Dios. Why not? So this is where Father Captain de Soya has been essentially exiled to a small congregation in this backwater desert planet for his failures to capture Aenea. While this place is dusty and dirty, he does find satisfaction in the simple and pure work of being a small town priest. However, at this mass, there are 5 people present in the chapel instead of the usual 4. Bum, bum, bum.
Uh-oh.
After mass, the 5th person approaches him. It's
Admiral...
It's Admiral Margaret Wu, personal aide and liaison to the Pax Fleet Commander, Admiral Mariusen. So, that notable person from the previous book, I'm sure. She's here to tell de Soya that he's been recalled to active duty. De Soya is not happy about this. He's like, please take this burden from me in his thoughts. But he doesn't say any of that, of course, because he's disciplined.
Is he reliable?
We'll get to why in a moment. Well, not in a moment. In like 30 or 40 pages. This book is like that. So now we cut to Pope Julius, or rather, where his body was being resurrected 3 days after his death. But it's not Hoyt who appears, it's Father Paul Duré! He's resurrected!
That's so sad.
Well, Duré wakes up to find Lourdusamy standing over him. He identifies Lourdusamy as the man who originally poisoned him when he was Pope Tellard I, allowing Hoyt to be installed. It's also widely, rumored, which is known, that it was probably Lourdusamy who was most responsible outside of Hoyt for the ability for learning how to tame the cruciforms and bringing that blessing to the universe. So really, he's sort of implied to be the guy pulling all the strings, and Hoyt maybe just a figurehead puppet thing.
I thought Dre got, permission to die.
Yeah, I was about to say the same.
No, not that didn't happen.
Yeah, no, obviously it didn't happen, but didn't he make some kind of agreement with somebody?
He became Pope. And I remember he had a dream.
Did he wish to die?
Yeah, he had a dream. Well, he did the thing
where he made the magic wish, Sam. He was supposed to die.
I thought he was dead.
No, at the end of Fall of Hyperion, he does have a dream with the Keats in it. And it's something about like him having a purpose, but he's made Pope at the end of the last book, and he's still alive. So.
Well, yeah, he's alive then, but he supposedly, when he died in that cycle, that was supposed to be the end of him. He made the magic wish.
I thought the same.
Yeah. I'm pointing to Filip like that is a thing.
Maybe he was lied to.
Okay,
maybe Johnny Keats lied to him.
I don't know. It was Keats. Was it Keats? Was it the Shrike? Who was it? Do you remember who gave him the magic wish?
Oh yeah, it was the Shrike. I remember. It was like
it was the Shrike. It was. Remember, they thought that if they were the pilgrims and they got to the Shrike or whatever, they got to make a wish.
And then he dies. Finally.
And it's implied that if
they pulled the cruciform out of him or something.
Then Dre got to die.
Out of him. I remember it was like a big deal.
This is shenanigans.
I remember that. Hey, you know what, Danielle? I have a task for you or Filip. I have homework. Go find that portion of the book and see if it directly contradicts this.
But, that was why I was...
In the next episode, you can bring it here and present it as evidence for why this book is nonsense. I will
2
accept
out of 3 of us believed this was a thing.
You know what? I could be. I just accepted this because I'm like, it's probably too complicated for me to understand.
That's why I had these questions, because I didn't understand why Hoyt and Duré is like there again. I thought they would finally...
That was why Hoyt kept coming back. Was because Duré was allowed to like not come back.
No, that's what's been happening.
That's my fault.
If you learn here, No. What's been happening? They've all been coming. They've been swapping off every time. But Lourdusamy has been coming in, and as he does now, he's been slitting Duré's throat, killing him as soon as he's resurrected.
What?
Then catching all of his blood in a chalice, and then when he dies, finally pouring that blood back over his eyes and body. Don't ask me why. It's never explained.
It sounds like you're making all this up. Like, this doesn't sound like this. It sounds like you're making a joke just to satisfy us, just to answer a question.
Nope, this is what's happening. It was very unnecessary to pour the blood over the dead the dead Father Paul Duré.
Duré should have gotten his wish. I'm very angry about this.
Yeah, I believe it. If you can find the evidence and bring it to court, otherwise it won't hold up.
But this happens all the time in these books. They say it like it's final, but then there is like more stuff. So I think the answer
is... This is like Marvel.
Yeah, nothing ever happens.
The answer is that it's just like, he got the wish and he did die, but until next time, it was like, he thought at the time it was final.
Some loophole.
Then it happened again because they just like took turns, so he got a... like a death holiday. That's about it.
Yeah, sure. Isn't Death Takes a Holiday? I don't know. That's the whole thing.
And it's remade as Meet Joe Black.
Or an episode of Daria.
Sure.
Death Takes a Holiday.
Death Takes a Holiday is an old movie.
I know. I'm just kidding. Anyway, point is, Duré's been getting his throat slit by Lourdusamy to bring back Hoyt every time.
No.
Yep.
No.
And then Lourdusamy signals to the other man present at this execution, who goes up to the Swiss guards present and like vaporizes their bodies, turns them to ash with the touch. Guess who it is?
I don't know.
Keats.
It's Counselor Albedo. You remember Counselor Albedo?
No.
Me neither.
Counselor Albedo? He was the TechnoCore liaison to Mina Gladstone's government.
Sure he was.
Something.
Yeah. I think it's Albedo? Counselor Albedo. Probably Albedo. Who cares? Point is, Counselor Albedo's back. He's from the TechnoCore, so the TechnoCore is somehow involved with the church at the highest levels. Dun, dun, dun. I know, no surprise to anyone.
Do we really think they just took a back seat?
No, of course not. Anyway, now we cut back to first person and Raul on Earth. Old Earth. Do you remember where Earth is located now? Either one of you, give me an answer.
I remember it was located somewhere else, and I remember it was still existing. And I remember it was relocated by the TechnoCore, right?
No, not by the TechnoCore.
So then
They drove it into space.
I thought the TechnoCore moved it. I thought that's what...
No, they moved. It was moved beyond the TechnoCore's ability, further than the TechnoCore had any reach. No. It was moved by something else. It was moved to the Hercules cluster. It's another galaxy far, far away.
Okay.
Well beyond the reach of the TechnoCore. So something else saved the Earth. Ooh, mysterious.
It be?
We don't know.
The Shrike.
Okay.
No.
I remember
that, Sam.
All right, you got me, Danielle.
It could be the Shrike. We're not going to find out all his powers and what he does anyway. Could have done anything.
Probably true. So Raul is on Earth. Somehow, Aenea knew of the Pope's death, even though somehow through, and I quote, means we did not suspect then. So clear as mud. But also, the old architect she had been studying under that led this group also died, and died on her 16th birthday. So, sad day.
So she had met the architect.
Yeah, well, no, at the end of the book, they got to Earth. Now we're 4 years in the future after she had met the architect.
Right. And wasn't the architect, what's his face? The famous architect?
I mean, yes, but that was never mentioned in the previous book.
Well, how then I know it then?
I probably told it to you for fun.
Okay, well, I'm pretty sure it was a reveal on the previous book, Sam.
Why don't you tell us who the architect is? Because it's revealed immediately now who the architect is.
It's the really famous architect. It's like the only architect anybody knows that I can't remember the name of.
Philip, you want to take a stab at it?
Weber, Andrew Lloyd.
Not Andrew Lloyd Webber, but very close.
And they always confuse the names.
Yes, he made Falling Water. He designed the Guggenheim. Come on. No. It's Frank Lloyd Wright.
See?
Okay.
Frank Lloyd Wright. Of course, it's Frank Lloyd Wright, and they're at his camp, Taliesin West, in New Mexico. And Bettik is also there with him, sans one arm that he lost below the elbow.
Is anybody else on Earth, or is it just them?
Oh, Earth is hopping.
Well, that's fun.
There's like 100 people at this camp, Taliesin West, and there are a bunch of other experiments going on. So we'll get to that. Give me one moment and I'll get to that. So Frank Lloyd Wright dies again, I guess. And they discuss that, like, while the notion of the human soul is still up for debate, the cybrids, whose personality, consciousness is linked to the datum plane, probably might still exist after death. And Aenea's like, no, it's a little bit more complicated than that. And this is what she said. Oh, no. And, buckle in, because this is amazing.
Prepare yourself.
A cybrid's personality survives as a sort of holistic wavefront, propagated along the matrices of the datum plane and megasphere until it returned to the AI source in the core.
Better than expected.
And even though they're well beyond the reach of the TechnoCore here in the Hercules cluster, the cybrids can still be connected via the void which binds, which transcends space and time.
Nonsense. Absolute nonsense.
So, Philip, one of the episodes I listened to recently of your Mind Duck Books podcast was the one on Neuromancer. Yep. And this is very Neuromancer to me. Yep. And I was just like, if this book was more Neuromancer and less unnecessary history, I'd be all in. I'd be like, yes, give me that weird techno babble nonsense. Get me into that datum plane. Remember the cyber pukes? Why don't we have more cyber pukes?
Neuromancer was very concise. It was only about 200-300 pages. We've already 1,500 pages in at this point. So,
but don't you want more Neuromancer? Come on.
There's more. It's like a 4-book series or something.
There are 4 books, yeah. Each as
but don't you want
nonsensical as the
Neuromancers
first.
with strikes? That's
yes. Yes. Shrike-nomancer.
Of course.
Anyway, I thought it was very fun. We're this this is Neuromancer. This is like Phil would get. This is Neuromancer. Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I enjoy these kind of things. So
yeah, of course. This is actually some of my favorite parts of this book is just like reading going, that's complete nonsense, but it sounds cool. Love it so much.
Yep.
Anyway, Aenea goes on to say that these cybrids are connected to AIs, which aren't really part of the core, even though Uman claimed to have created the Keat cybrid, and that the rest were a core experiment. Aenea says that Uman told the truth as best he could, but that there were elements he didn't understand. We don't get to know what those elements are, so don't ask.
I was expecting somebody to
Uman, though.
Quote Uman.
Yeah, we did.
Waiting for
everyone's favorite inscrutable AI
best character in the series.
Zen Cohen dispenser.
You know that I skipped that entire section. We talked about that.
You did, much to my disappointment. I wanted you to read it all.
I skimmed it.
It was the best part of the series.
Yeah.
Strong disagree.
All right, so then Raul starts creeping again, saying, quote, I could say that she had grown into womanhood in the intervening years.
No.
But despite the rounding of her hips and the obvious breasts beneath the old sweatshirt she wore, I still did not see her as a woman.
No. It's gross.
Couple reminders. A, she's 16 at this point.
So gross.
B, he met her when she was 12. 3, they definitely bone later, as Raul has predicted from the start.
And he clearly does see her as a woman. He's talking about her hips and boobs.
Yes. And also, Raul, remember, is the one telling this story. He could just not say this creepy stuff and spare us.
He could just think it in his head. Doesn't have to bring it up.
Nope. Anyway, it's more of Raul being like, she's not a woman yet, so I can't think of her that way.
Give her 2 years, we'll be good to go.
Basically, which I'm like, Dan Simmons, why'd you make this problem for yourself?
Yeah, well, the way to make the reader uncomfortable, like, why? It doesn't serve any purpose.
But no, it's like, it's not uncomfortable. He doesn't see her as a sexual object yet.
If you're pointing out that you're not seeing her as a sexual object, you're seeing her as a sexual object.
To quote the bard, let's get some poetry up in here. Methink the author doth protest too much. Anyway, I just have to bring back Raul's increasingly creepy attitudes and protestations.
Oh, so gross. Come on, Raul.
And then Aenea makes Raul promise to do something for her tomorrow, but won't tell him what it is. So Raul then takes the first of many digressions to go on to say, I will stop for a moment. I realize you might not know about me unless you've read the few hundred pages of my tale. The first few hundred pages of my tales.
Pages of the tale.
And then he proceeds to summarize his entrapment in the death box again. Then he says, in the meantime, I will reintroduce myself. My name is Rise of Endymion. My first name rhyming with tall, which I am, which is the best. I love it.
It might help me more. Tall, Raul.
It sounds like he's like at a bar going, hey baby, my name is Raul and I'm with tall, which I am. Do you want to climb aboard? It is the best. So excited.
Is he out of the box yet?
No.
What?
Okay.
What?
He's still summarizing.
Still in the box.
He's writing. This is all past tense. This is all him writing up to the point he gets into the box.
I thought you said at the beginning he got out. Did you go somewhere else?
No.
He's in the box in the beginning of the book, and at the end of the book, he is still in the box.
What?
So what happened was, the box is a framing device. He's writing the story from inside the box, and this is still part of that story he's writing.
Oh my god, I thought he got out.
It's still framed.
No, it's still framed. We're still being framed, like Roger Rabbit in that movie.
Never mind.
Welcome to my life.
So then Raul proceeds to summarize the entire previous book over the next 2 or 3 pages.
So listeners, feel free just to rewind a bit and you can hear my summary.
Danielle, your summary was less boring, I'll be honest. And look, I get framing devices, and this is like, oh yeah, if this was really happening, he might do this because he's constantly destroying the pages as he's writing them. But Dan Simmons, what are you doing, man? Suspend disbelief a little bit and let us just accept that we understood what happened in the previous book.
Every time the writers do this, I feel like it's an exercise to remind themselves that they didn't forget something that happened.
See? I do remember the previous book.
Well, and who's starting in book 4?
Right.
The second book of the Endymion arc.
Here's the wild part. This book only came out a year after the previous book. It wasn't even like there's it's been 10 years since I wrote this book, so I better remind people or whatever. But people could just reread it or skim it or something. It's not like it's inaccessible to them. Anyway, I skipped that. I mostly skipped that for obvious reasons. Anyway, he ends up saying how he's not speculating about his story he's telling. He knows for a fact what happened everywhere in the universe, down to what thoughts de Soya had, saying, not because I'm omniscient, but because later events and revelations that gave me access to such omniscience. It will make sense later. At least I hope it will. And I will bet so much that it does not make sense later. You want to take that bet, Danielle?
No,
Philip, come on.
I do not.
Well, we have to define what makes sense means, so it's kind of gonna be techno-babbled out.
Yeah, probably.
Meaningless.
He'll either not explain it or explain it in a very underwhelming way.
Only 2 options.
The void that binds that told him, something like that.
Yes.
That's entirely possible.
He almost certainly got access to the megasphere or the void which binds and had it all downloaded into his brain somehow. Or maybe Aenea mind melts with him like a Vulcan or something.
During sex.
Oh my gosh, that's probably it.
Yeah, 99% chance.
Oh no!
Sorry.
No!
I didn't write it, Simmons did.
All right, anyway, we're back to the story. Raul is done reintroducing himself and retelling us what happened in the middle of the story. Aenea disappears for 3 days and 3 nights, which was apparently not uncommon for her to do. In the meantime, Raul tells us all about her house, which she had to design and build on her own, like every apprentice did when they arrived. The camp is in a bit of hysteria because everyone thought of Aenea as the second in line. They all saw her as the next person to turn to lead them, and now she's gone.
The next Andrew Lloyd Webber?
No, not that guy. She's not going to write Cats, Danielle. It's not going to happen.
You don't know that. She can do anything she puts her heart into.
Sure, okay. Phantom of the Shrike.
I'd watch that.
Are you You want to do the Shrike singing or just stomping around, 10 feet tall, stomping around, singing. I love that.
You wouldn't watch a musical version of Endymion.
I would watch, if they made a musical Hyperion series, sign me up. Filip, what would be the first opening number you think in the Shrike the Musical?
Well, it's pretty obvious. It would involve a flat line and then certain activities with fanfare.
That's a very good point. All right. Hollywood, make it happen.
As always, call us for more ideas.
Yes, we'll even give them to you mostly royalty-free. So the camp is all up in arms because she's gone. They're leaderless. There's 4 pages here of him describing her house. I'm just not going to mention it. Because after 4 days, Aenea returns, having fasted the whole time, and calls a meeting of the entire camp.
Is she going to eat them? Because she's hungry?
Absolutely. You got it. Cannibalism next on the menu. But rather than going to that meeting, Raul then says, I'm going to interrupt myself here. And I hate him. Every time something happens, he stops the story to tell us something not important. Here's what he says. I wanted to tell you about our 4 years in exile, about how we traveled around the Earth and we saw all these other people in groups, all the other experiments going on Earth, recreating different time points, usually around some historical figure. Like they went to visit Jesus Cybrid in New Palestine and Israel and all this kind of stuff going on. And while he's going on and on about how he's not going to tell us about that, he spent 3 pages telling us about all the things he's not going to tell us. While the actual story is like, hey, can we get back to Aenea, the big announcement she's going to make, please? Thank you. Anyway, I was very angry at that point of the book. I'm like, this is the second chapter. Just get back to the story.
You should be used to it by now.
That doesn't mean I like it.
I just realized I mispronounced. It's not flat line, it's just fat line, right?
Oh, fat line squirts, right.
Because I didn't get any reaction out of you, so I was like, did I say that wrong? Yes.
I thought you were going to do they all die and there's a flat line from a heart monitor.
Sorry. I was very much thinking about the fanfares and squirting, sorry.
Fat line. Okay. Well, if you want to have fat line squirts for the opening musical number, that just makes sense.
Yes, that's what I meant, and I was like,
that too.
So that completely
the fat line squirts chorus.
Yes, exactly.
If you had a band, it'd be called the Hyperion to the Fat Line Squirt Singers.
Oh, no.
Okay, seriously, it's not a terrible name.
Excellent. All right. So in the meantime, while all the people are gathering, Aenea is talking with Raul, and she gives him, I kid you not, an entire slightly abbreviated biography of Frank Lloyd Wright. Starting with the Great Depression and going up to his original death and his many indiscretions, leaving his wife. I'm like, why do we have a Frank Lloyd Wright biography in the middle of this book?
Why not have a Frank Lloyd Wright biography in the middle of the book, Sam, is a better question.
You know what this reminds me of? Remember the book Lords of the Sky?
Absolutely.
Remember how that was
dreams, lots of dreams.
That don't mean anything, yes. Yeah. Dragons named Deborah, right.
Deborah.
Right. Remember how we thought that book really, the editor did not do enough? And we wanted wanted the unedited version of that book to see, how crazy it was?
Yes.
That was my feeling reading them, what is, did the editor just give up on Simmons here? Or is there, an even crazier, 9,000 page version of this that I really want to read?
I think they gave up.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, they just told him he's great, and that was...
I'm going to skip the entire biography, but I will actually just briefly talk about how she describes the Great Depression, because it's amazing. And she says, the Great Depression was where the value of physical money, actual coins, and pieces of paper that were supposed to be worth something. It was all a consensual hallucination, of course, and in the 1930s, that hallucination turned to a nightmare. And you just know that Simmons is like a crypto bro who doesn't understand what money is or how it works. Oh man, fiat currency is just like a consensual hallucination, man. It doesn't have any actual value.
I mean, that's kind of true.
I mean, it is and it isn't, because it represents, you give a value based on what it represents. Anything is value, gold doesn't have any actual value to it. You have value based on what you can use it for and what people are willing to give it. Anyway, it's oversimplification is what I would say.
Slight oversimplification.
I'm not saying fiat currency is the best or foolproof, but it's not just as simple as, it's make-believe money. It's not the same thing.
It's the only thing he's oversimplified on.
Probably. Anyway, I can just imagine him being like, Shrike coin, buy it now. We'll have our ICO next week. Anyway, I'd buy it. The only crypto I'd buy into is Shrike coin.
We'd strike on anything and we would apparently buy it.
We're very simple people, Danielle. Even if it was just the bird, I would do it. Anyway, after that brief detour to the life and times of Frank Lloyd Wright, we finally get to the meeting, 10 pages later, where Aenea explains that she listened in on the quote-unquote lions and tigers and bears, which Raul takes another few paragraphs to remind us are, yes, I got that. Very good timing on both of you. I loved it. Was a term that they used to describe those other beings that live in the megasphere that the TechnoCore was afraid of, and those are the things that kidnapped the Earth and saved it and took it to this other galaxy, and the ones who've been running all the experiments with humans and creating these cybrids.
You know what? I'm very happy. I'm very pleased this came up because I was sure this will never come up again. So bring the lions. No, I'm excited what that means.
The lions and tigers and bears come up so freaking much, guys.
Yes, please.
Get ready.
I wish they say what this means. I love to know.
They won't.
I have killed all my hopes.
He sticks to the way of the book.
We're not even through the second chapter right now, guys. So Aenea explains that the architect camp experiment is over. She overheard this in her, listening to the lions and tigers and bears. They'll be given no more provisions, no more food, no more fuel for the generators. They used to trade with another market, but they're cut off. They're going to be, in 2 weeks, they'll be out of food, out of fuel, and they have two choices. They can stay on Earth and try to fend for themselves in the desert with no help from anyone else as outcasts, or they can return through the Farcaster portals they came through originally, from the Time Tombs or wherever, and go back into Pax space. However, if the Pax catches any of them because they're, heathens or whatever, heretics, they'll be immediately killed. So they're that's not great options for us, We're not thrilled about this.
Terribly unfair.
They're not happy about it. And Aenea's nope, we gotta do it. I think everyone should go, or all the work we've done here will be for nothing. And they have to go in small groups, spread out, and spread what they've learned, and I'm not really sure how a group of 100 architects is going to take down a theocratic totalitarian regime, but I'm curious to learn.
You'll find out.
Can't wait.
Maybe
I'll design a cathedral so beautiful that even God can't move it or whatever. Anyway, she also announces that, surprise, surprise, Raul will leave first, alone, tonight. And Raul was all, what? After the meeting, Aenea takes Raul to a workshop where she and Bettik built him a kayak. We're going rafting again, guys. Back to the river.
Yay. We needed another road trip.
But it's a solo road trip this time.
Not as much fun. I'm sure he'll meet some interesting people along the way.
No, absolutely not. And so he should take this kayak down the Mississippi River through the Farcaster portal and then back into the river Tethys until he finds the ship, which they left buried where they crashed on that one planet under the water. It may still be there. It may not. I don't know. But he's got to go find it and then fly that ship back to her and Bettik and meet them on a planet in Pax space.
Okay. Why?
Yeah.
Are they going to get to the other planet?
Bettik and Aenea?
Yeah.
Farcaster, probably?
Okay.
As for why, Raul asks that same question. Guess how many answers he gets?
0.
You got it! He's the winner!
Because Aenea said so.
We cut now to the Grand Inquisitor, who was reviewing the complete recording of the meeting Lourdusamy had with the Mercantilus. Apparently, when the aide Odie had gone in for routine eyes, ears, and heart replacement, they had secretly installed a bunch of bioengineered listening and transmitting devices on him so they could snoop wherever he goes without them being detectable, because they're not electronic, they're biological, so they're indetectable. So that's fun. Philip, you look confused.
Yeah, it's face.
You look angry. You look pained.
I have so many things I can't even.
I can read through the paragraph where he describes all these little devices in detail, but I didn't think we had time for it.
Oh my God. I am very grateful you're reading this. You're
welcome.
I feel
but you're missing all the great details. All right. So the Inquisitor is going on and about the politics of the Pax and how the Mercantilus made their overture to Lourdusamy, but the Pax fleet is the one who is scared because they haven't made a move yet for fear of making the wrong choice, starting with the wrong side. And now they fear they've waited too long and they'll be cut out. And the Mercantilus will replace them as the power center. Because right now there's the Vatican, which is the main power, where they have the Pax fleet, which is the secondary power. And then they have the Mercantilus with the, merchant class, and they're trying to vying to displace the Pax fleet and become powerful in the And it's all this politics. It's happening. So there you go.
Sometimes you talk, Sam, and I'm like, ma, 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 ma.
So now you understand the experience of reading this book.
Like, especially the summaries and people trying to tell me stuff that happens. It's always like this urge to not have everything become a blurry noise. That's all the information coming. It's like,
look, I'm trying to keep it interesting, but boy, I have so much I can work with.
I started thinking about like sushi rolls. It's like my brain was like somewhere else.
I really appreciate the hours and hours I put into crafting these summaries and reading these books. Look, I know I'm not the most magnetic storyteller, but I tried.
I listened. Look how well I did on the summary.
I think the issue isn't really what you're saying.
That's
it's
true.
Just all the references it brings up. And every time I start thinking about like, didn't the Farcaster network explode? Who renewed it? Where did they go? What is this ship?
But remember, the Farcaster network was the TechnoCore solution. The Void which binds, which is controlled by the lions of tigers and bears. They can use that without using they can do direct access to it.
Because they constantly like destroy something and then they retcon it instantly and use it like the same way in a different way.
Yeah, but the TechnoCore and the Pax, on back to the Farcaster, only those which the lions and tigers and bears deem worthy.
I'm so excited about these lions and tigers and bears. I hope they
prepare to be disappointed.
Isn't it nice that when Filip's confused and thinking about other things, he's still thinking of Hyperion?
Yes, you were thinking about sushi rolls.
I was hungry.
We're not going to third of the way through this. We're going to be cooking. It could be a 4-hour episode. Oh, jeez.
You don't have to do everything you wrote down, Sam.
Yes, I do, because I'm going to come back later and you're going to be mad that I didn't mention it.
I mean, you could, cut off at some point and we could do it another episode.
I was just thinking how many...
that's loser talk. That's quitter talk.
This would be and how many it's actually going to be. So good luck.
Well, we'll get to 2.5 hours. I'll stop. We'll see how this goes.
Go.
Anyway, so the Inquisitor then goes to what essentially like a morgue and pulls open one of the slabs, and it's Corporal Key on it in cryostasis.
It's who? It's what?
Corporal Key, one of the Swiss guards that was traveling with de Soya.
Sure.
So apparently they've been keeping him in cryostasis, waking him up only to torture him by directly stimulating his brain to feel pain in terrible ways, demanding to know what happened and why he and de Soya let the girl go. Key is very belligerent and is you already made me tell you everything under a truth tell, so this is pointless. And they're like, shut up and tell us more, and keep torturing him. It's pointless, I guess.
How come de Soya got to go to just some random planet and this dude gets tortured?
Because de Soya is special.
Okay.
Which we'll get to. Speaking of Captain de Soya, he's back, baby! Back on Patrum, recovering from his journey from Madre de Dios. He's being given a brand new ship to command, a new Raphael. Not the Archangel ship he had before, but the new and improved battle-based warship version of the Archangels. Why would they name it the same
thing? Why not Leonardo or Michelangelo? Or...
Because those aren't Archangels, Danielle.
Yeah,
those are Ninja Turtles. Yes. I know.
It'd be a better reference.
Yes, the Ninja Turtle battle cruisers for the church.
Okay, you know what? I would join that church.
It does sound intimidating, you're right. Which one's the rad dude and which one does machines?
They could be different colors, purple, red, and... No, okay.
You don't remember the color of the Ninja Turtles?
Blue?
Yeah.
Purple, red, and blue, right?
There's 4 Ninja Turtles, Danielle.
Purple, red, and blue, and green.
I think
Yellow?
orange, because their skin's
orange?
green. Yeah. Something like that. I don't remember either. I haven't watched Ninja Turtles as recently as you have, so...
Great.
I didn't say they weren't.
Anyway, carry on.
Point
not
is...
Ninja Turtles, unfortunately.
I know. No, they're Archangels, not Ninja Turtles. Sorry. The new Raphael is an Archangel-based warship, one that each industrial planet in the Pax is ordered to build for the war effort. So the new ships even contain death beams, the use of which had hitherto been forbidden. And de Soya's a little like, ooh, that's not kosher. So get your death beam on, I guess.
What are they going to use the death beams for?
Death. What do you think?
Didn't they already have things on them that shot people?
Yeah, they got missiles and lasers and stuff, but death beams, remember, those are the things that kill people without damaging any of the equipment. And the whole thing was they're going to try to get the people into the labyrinths.
The caves, yeah.
Yeah, the labyrinth.
Got it.
Yeah. So they're back, baby. Death beams, round 2. So his particular new ship, the new Raphael Mark II.
Why not a different archangel name?
Boy, they go into this later. There are 7 archangels named in the Bible, but then they elevate a bunch of other angels to like honorary archangel status so they can name more ships after them. They have this discussion, Danielle. I skipped it. Thank you for making me bring it up.
That's what I live for.
It's your fault. This is why it takes 4 hours. All right. So his new ship was built by the planet of Heaven's Gate, which you may recall was a poor slime pit, the place that Martin Salinas recovered from, but apparently is still rich in minerals. So the Pope just straight up sold the planet to build the ship, to get the money to build the ship, and he sold the planet to the Opus Dei and used that money to build the Raphael. De Soya, not happy about that, really. He's like, oh, this is all very unseemly.
What does he think he's working for?
He's fairly naive, I think. All right. But the only thing he requests is that his old crew, those Swiss guards, be assigned to him again, specifically Gregorius, Rettig, and Key. But of course, Rettig died in the previous book. Key is now presumed dead. And the only one left is Gregorius, who will be transferred to his command. So getting the band back together.
Nice.
Yay.
Now we cut to the headquarters of the Pax Mercantilus, located on the L5 Trojan point, trailing behind the planet Patcham by some 60 orbital degrees. So it's on the L5 Lagrange point, if you need to know. Apparently, Dan Simmons needed you to know that.
He thinks we need to know a lot of things, Sam.
I know. Isozaki is meeting with Anna Pelli Cognani, and Isozaki is telling her that the Mercantilus doesn't have any real power in the Pax. She's all, well, what is real power then, if not the billions and billions of marks we've made? And he makes both of them strip off their shirts to the skin and point to the cruciform on their sternums as like, oh, that's real power. Which seems excessive when he could just said it's the cruciforms. He didn't need to make them take their tops off, but I guess he's dramatic as heck. He's a little of a drama queen, this Isozaki guy. So basically, as long as the church controls the resurrection process, they're going to have a stranglehold on humanity for obvious reasons, right? However, the church doesn't actually control the resurrection process or the cruciform. It's the church's ally, the TechnoCore, who really controls everything. They have the real secrets of the cruciform, everything. So why the TechnoCore is helping the church is still mysterious.
Yeah, I was about to say.
Yeah, they don't know why. However, the Mercantilus has been developing illegal hyper-intelligent AIs, because AIs were made illegal. Self-intelligent AIs were made illegal after the fall, but they've been secretly making them again for reasons, mostly about making better business and making more money. But they might come in handy now for contacting the TechnoCore.
This feels like it's just going to be a repeat of the original Hyperions.
History repeats itself, Danielle, and so do these books.
But isn't the Pax army in cahoots with the church? Aren't they working together?
So the Pax is the government, which is comprised of the Vatican, which is the church arm, and they have their military branch, which is the Pax fleet, and their economic branch, which is the Pax Mercantilus.
But isn't the TechnoCore?
And they're all sort of political rivals.
Oh.
Like they're all vying for power in the Pax. Like the Vatican is like the supreme authority because they control the resurrection. And the Pax fleet, the Pax Mercantilus, are sort of vying to be the top dogs underneath the Vatican. Okay. But here we're going to learn about the Mercantilus as a plan to try to unseat the Vatican as the top power in the galaxy.
Kind of makes sense, I guess. I was like, wait a minute, aren't there enemies? And now they're like together? What? Okay.
So the TechnoCore is working with the Vatican, not the Pax fleet.
Okay.
Got it.
But the Vatican controls the Pax fleet and the Mercantilus ostensibly. Like they're underneath their purview. So
okay.
All right. So, but since the collapse of the Farcaster network, which the Core used to siphon off human brain computational power to further the Ultimate Intelligence project, their motivations are kind of now a mystery. Like they don't know what they're getting from the Vatican. Like what are they getting out of this deal? Because they're not getting human brain computational power, at least that they're aware of, because there's no Farcaster network for them to use to vampire suck our brain power out of. But they do know one thing. They know that the TechnoCore wants Aenea. So they've learned that they want Aenea. So their thinking is, the Pax fleet just called up de Soya, since he is predicted by the TechnoCore's prediction algorithm to be very important for the capture of Aenea. So that's why he's special. He hasn't been tortured or killed, because he is part of the grand tapestry of whatever fate in order for them to capture Aenea.
So they think they will capture Aenea.
They still think that they can. That's still their plan. Kind of. We'll get to it. But if the Mercantilus can capture Aenea first, they can use her and their own AIs as a bargaining chip to contact the TechnoCore and open negotiations with them and say, like, hey, what are you getting from the church, from the Vatican? Maybe we can give that to you, and in return, we'll get all the power over resurrection, and we'll become the new ultimate power in the galaxy. So that's their plan. Got it? Political machinations left and right. So Isazaki describes it as a 6-way zero-sum game between the Vatican, the Pax Fleet, the Pax Mercantilus, the TechnoCore, Aenea with her own goals, and whatever other beings were used to put Aenea into play, the lions and tigers and bears, presumably, that they don't really know about. All right. Big political, machination dump there. Moving on. Next, we cut to the election of the new pope. I'm going to skip it because basically it's... Again. They tried to do the unanimous acclamation. It doesn't work. For the first time in 250 years, the pope is not elected by unanimous acclamation because Lourdusamy bribed or threatened some of the other priests or other cardinals to not vote for Hoyt.
Is Hoyt existing? Is Duré still potentially in play?
Duré, no. He's been killed and resurrected as Hoyt.
Okay.
Yeah. Remember he cut his throat, collected his blood, poured all over him, that whole scene?
No, you told us that was what he had been doing, but then...
he did it again. That was absolutely happened every time.
Okay. There was something to do with a bunch of people dying, and I got confused, and then I was sidetracked.
Hoyt's back. He's eligible. Duré, not eligible as the anti-pope, which sounds way cooler. He's not eligible to be pope again.
If Duré came back, could he be pope if they voted for him again?
I mean, I don't see what stops them. Okay. Sure, why not? They can un-anti-pope him, I guess.
They can do whatever they want.
Anti-pope him, 2 anti-popes make a regular pope, I guess? Negative numbers? All right. Anyway, Hoyt fails to win by acclamation, so they do the thing where they call scrutiny, where they write down the votes on pieces of paper, and Hoyt wins scrutiny anyway and is pope again. So it was all sort of pointless as far as I can tell.
It's just to show dissension among the ranks, Sam.
Pretty much. And this time, instead of being Pope Julius the whatever, he takes the name Pope Urban the 16th. And when this is announced to the waiting crowd outside the Vatican, de Soya instantly realizes that the name refers to Pope Urban II, who started the first crusade. So, dun dun dun. And indeed, Hoyt announces that there's going to be a new crusade against the Ousters, which de Soya recognizes as being a massive war. It's going to be hugely detrimental to everyone. There's going to be lots of death.
We haven't talked about the Ousters in forever. Exactly. Are they even up to anything?
Yes and no. The Ousters exist, and the church views them as absolute heresy and need to be destroyed as evil. But they have a tentative border. They have the de Soya started the book, showed up first in the book as attacking one of the Ouster cities. Orbital forests, and blew up orbital forest ring. And that's how so there's these skirmishes, it's a constant little low-level war around their borders, basically. They call it the Great Wall, their border with the Ousters.
But nothing has prompted them to suddenly go after the Ousters more than they had.
No, this is why a crusade now? It's a very good question. Clearly, there are hidden forces at work behind the scenes. Booga, 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 booga. Right? No? Yes? No? Anyway, we cut to Raul. He's leaving at night. Aenea is in the dropship with him, going to the Mississippi River. Raul asks why it's so important to hurry. Aenea says she thinks it's important to get things moving. And if she doesn't leave now, separate herself from him, she'll never be able to leave him. She'll lose her nerve, essentially. So by separating now and only meeting after, doing what she has to do, she's basically incentivizing her to get what she needs to get done, even if she doesn't want to do it, because that means they'll be reunited later.
Sure.
I'll have a cookie after I finish writing this essay or whatever. It's an incentive for herself to do the unfortunate thing.
Do we know what the unfortunate thing is?
Good question, Danielle. We don't get to know.
Okay.
Of course.
They land, they drag out the kayak, and Raul asks her if she sees the future, can she tell them when they'll meet again? And she's like, I don't see the future, Raul. I remember parts of it.
Jeez, and he's like,
what? And he's like, what's the difference? And she goes on this long thing about how oh, you know how you can remember things and memories, you don't really trust your memories, you can remember things incorrectly. So I don't trust my memories of the future because they may be blurry or wrong or, false or not trustworthy. So she's only has to be guided by these memories, but not taking them too seriously. Anyway, they get the kayak in the river, and she shows Raul a big red button on the kayak. And she's like, Raul, whatever you do, don't push this button.
He'll 100% push the button.
And he's like, why even put a button there if I'm not to push it? And she's like, well, don't push it until you absolutely need to. Got it? Good. Go on now. Bye-bye.
Classic.
Bonkers. Absolutely hate that stuff. So he goes to kiss her on the forehead goodbye as he's done 1,000,000 times, but she moves and kisses him on the lips instead, and it's like an electric shock through his body.
I hate it.
She pulls back mischievously, and he's feeling very confused by this.
That's gross. She's kayak. 16.
Yeah, but it's okay because she's the one who did it,
No,
Danielle.
it's not okay.
It's not. He's only like 32, Danielle, or whatever.
It's so gross. I don't care if they're destined to be together from some giant fate thing. It's so gross.
You're going to love this book.
No.
Oh, no.
I was already mad about it in the last book.
So Raul asks what he should do after finding the ship. I'm going to go find the ship. Then what? And she's like, okay, I think it'll only take you a few days to find the ship. And then once you do, you'll fly to this planet. And I'm going to mispronounce all of these words, so don't come at me. But it's called like Tian Shan or Mountains of Heaven. And find a mountain on that planet called Hang Shan. And near it is a place called Swan Kung Su, the temple hanging in the air. And she'll be there.
I'll take it.
And he's like,
sounds legit.
Yeah.
Cool. And she goes on to say, you won't be able to land there, but you will be able to disembark, whatever that means. So
throw a ladder out of the entryway and climb down.
Skydive. Who knows?
What's the plan?
There is no plan, Danielle. The plan is go to that plan. I won't bother trying to say it, butcher that name again, but there you go. And with that, he heads off. And they say goodbye, they wave goodbye, and Nia calls out a quick, I love you, before she disappears, and he's swept downriver.
Awkward.
Yeah. So we cut to the planet of Svoboda.
Funnily enough, that is a Czech word.
Yeah? What's
Svoboda means freedom.
Freedom. That's not this planet.
The anti-Svoboda.
I'm so glad you're here, Filip, to tell me this. I had no idea Svoboda was a real word that meant freedom.
Well,
am I saying that even close to correctly?
Yeah, it's okay. It's understandable.
Understandable. I'll take it. Probably better than the Chinese words I was butchering just a paragraph ago, so thank you. How would you, a proper person, say that word?
It's a Svoboda.
Svoboda, okay.
Yeah, it's pretty much the
Close
same.
Enough.
Totally
pretty
the
much the
same
same. Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it. So apparently Svoboda was one of the 9 labyrinth worlds. Right? Remember those? It's one of those. But it's like a hellscape, and there's some like random people living on the dawn line, like the terminus between the light side and the dark side, because you're too hot on the hot side and too cold on the cold, just like Mercury, basically. So there are a few scattered people. It has no atmosphere. It's a hellscape. So freedom, yay! Neme, and her friends arrive on, and they land, they go into the labyrinth, and actually land like after a few miles in the labyrinth. Waiting in the airless corridor is Counter Albedo. Also in the corridor are all these slabs lining the walls of the labyrinth as far as they can see in every direction. And all the slabs are human bodies, just naked human bodies as far as the eye can see in the labyrinth.
Dead human bodies?
Unclear.
Okay.
I mean, what is dead in this book?
Probably cyborg.
So they go out to meet him, Albedo, and he tells them that Aenea has returned. They don't know where, since the something else, which is what they call the lions, tigers, and bears, the something else, so 2 words for it, has masked the Farcaster translation, so they can't track it, but the 3 sectors of consciousness, and you remember the 3 sectors of consciousness are, don't you?
Yeah. Filip, don't you?
Should be taking screenshots of Sam now.
The 3 sectors, remember the 3 warring factions inside the TechnoCore? You had
Empathy.
That's the human
Never mind.
ultimate intelligence. You have the stables.
The not stables?
The volatiles.
Oh yeah, I remember now. Okay.
And the one thing, the intelligence, what is it? God, the blank looks in your faces. It's the ultimates. The ultimates.
Yeah,
the stables, and the volatiles.
If Filip doesn't remember, I'm not going to remember.
You did so well. I thought you might. Anyway, so I'm presuming those are the 3 consciousness, the 3 sectors of consciousness. I don't know why they introduced him as that, because they never referred to that as anywhere else in the books. So new terms.
He forgot what he called them before.
Probably. So they can still feel the connection of the Farcaster and know that something translated. They just don't know where she is. So they're like, the girl must have returned.
So she's left Earth?
Yep.
Okay.
The 3 sectors all agree the Earth experiment isn't ending, but that there's something else is letting Aenea's group return to the Pax space for whatever reason. So their mission that he gives to these 4 Nemes is to go to every Farcaster portal Numenus is to go to every forecaster portal on the river Tethys, and they can physically go up to the portals and like plug into them and check to see if somebody came through them. And so they're going to do that until they find Aenea, apparently, and then kill her. No longer capture, it's time to kill. Albedo also takes a moment to name the other 3 Numenus. He names them, I'm going to get these wrong too, but I'm sorry. Scylla? 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 Pick your favorite.
Scylla.
Gyges and Briareus.
Okay.
Sure. Why not?
So, I don't know. Albedo was having some fun and named some hybrid murder machines. They often use one ship, so they ask, like, hey, what if we took 4 ships? It would be a lot faster to search the galaxy with 4 ships than all of us in one ship going in one at a time. It's like
Turtles.
Just because there are 4 ships, Ninja Turtle ships.
Yeah.
No, Danielle. I know you want Ninja Turtles to happen, but it's not going to happen in this book. I'm sorry.
Waiting for the Wraiths to come back.
Yeah, the Ninja Wraiths. Teenage Mutant Ninja Wraiths, right?
That'd be better.
Not really Wraiths at all. No, they can only use one ship because A, the TechnoCore can't borrow more from the Pax, and although they gave the Pax technology to make the ships, they still need the Pax labor and the Pax factories to build them, so they're not really in a position to demand more of them. But also, he wants all 4 of them together in case they encounter the Shrike, because the Shrike's bad news, I guess, and apparently the Shrike is no longer under control of the machine UI, or as Albedo puts it, quote, the gods of the future no longer whisper to us. They war among themselves, and the clamor of their battles echoes back through time. If our god's work is to be done in our time, we must do it ourselves. So I hope that clears things up.
So the Shrike's like on his own?
He's gone rogue, Danielle. He's turning his badge and gun, and he's doing this on his own.
Just for funsies?
He's a Shrike on a mission. Maybe. I don't know. It might just be
Has he ever had a mission?
Around. Greg, he might just be going preparing for his next concert tour. I don't know.
I like to assume he just bops in now and then just to like throw people off.
He's like, still here, gotcha.
Little pop-up raves, and then he leaves.
He's like the Banksy of pop-up raves. He just shows up, does a little musical number, and bands. Everyone's like, who's the real Shrike?
Banksy Shrike.
Shrikesy. Shranksy? Shranksy. All right. As they're talking, Neme then asks about, like, hey, just out of curiosity, how many bodies do we have in this labyrinth? And Albedo's like, no, a few tens of millions in this section, but there are more tunnels and more labyrinth worlds. And it's all the Pax doing this because Albedo says, why would the 3 sectors of consciousness or our future UI want to stockpile human bodies? So it's not the core, it's the Pax. The plot thickens like a roux or a good stew. Anyway, they go off to their mission. We'll see how that goes.
So the Pax are collecting bodies for
Maybe.
funsies.
Or it could be the core. Albedo could be lying. I don't know.
But as far as we know.
Yes. So Captain de Soya coming to after being resurrected, after translating to his new command at the Omicron Epsilon Pax Fleet Strategic Positioning Station orbiting Epsilon Eridani. So, get all that? I think my favorite thing about this book is all the insane names he comes up with. Like, if I ever name something named, I'm calling Dan Simmons. Like, hey, can you name a planet for me? Got it. Thank you, bud. Way to be looking out. So his new ship is clearly state-of-the-art and he gets a good look at it as they fly past and dock with the Uriel, the task force flagship Uriel, another Archangel, but not a Ninja Turtle, I'm afraid.
Don't know that. Could be a cousin.
Cousin Uriel? That'd be great. So he's there to meet with the other task force captains and get their briefing. Their mission is to use their special ship drives to translate into outer space past the Great Wall of Defense to the relatively undefended interior areas and destroy just everything they find. And the list of things they could be destroying, it's great. It's comet farms, can cities, boondoggles, tourist bases, L-point clusters, orbital forest rings, birthing asteroids, bubble hives, everything. Oh my God. Frankly, the Ousters sound way more interesting than anything we've been following so far. I want to go to a birthing asteroid. Sign me up for that, Mr. Simmons. What, you got, like, orbital forest rings and boondoggles? I'm here following a freaking Raul in a kayak? What's up? Come on, buddy.
Amazing.
Where's my boondoggle bubble high? Like, You can't just like dangle that in front of me and be like, those exist, but you don't get to see them. We're following the kayak man down a river. Like, why? Give me the boondoggle and Elk Point clusters and Comet Farms. Come on. What is a can? Is it a city in a can? Like, do they like open it up and like, oh, it like, pops out a can, a whole city? And like, how cool is that? I want to eat a can city.
Isn't there like an encyclopedia of Hyperion that hasn't released something like they have the Dune like reference book where you have all this stuff explained?
If there is, that book is longer than the whole Hyperion story.
Just read like the terms and what they mean.
Man, I really want to meet the Ousters. I hope we get to them in this book. Otherwise, what's even the point?
No, it's going to be in the 40-page novella.
Right, of course, I forgot.
You get 40 whole pages of Ousters.
I have to double check when that takes place. I hope it's not a prequel or something, because we're like putting so much faith into this.
Prequel. It's just a story of one of the like people from the first book.
Yeah.
Oh, it's just another like Miri story. Like, hey, let's go to Miri and follow her around again, or Siri,
like
not Miri, Siri.
Like a
sorry.
dream that the guy at the very beginning of the very first book, how he lies down naked and listens to some kind of music. That's what he dreamt about. Is the story probably? That's my guess.
Oh, you mean the console when he's like he plays the piano and then he on the deck with the lightning. Yes. He's not naked.
I thought he was naked. Never mind. So at the time,
he might be naked at some other point. I don't remember.
At the time, he has a dream.
I was like, I don't remember that at all.
Takes a nap, and this is what he dreams about. My guess.
You've been looking at the Japanese covers too much. There's a lot more nudity on those covers. They're great. So De Soya then asks if their mission to kill everything includes quote-unquote civilian angels, which is a slang term for the informal name of fallen angels that they've given to the space-tailored DNA-altered mutant Ousters. And why are we with the Ousters? How cool is it to have like winged space Ousters flapping about amongst their comet farm? Come on!
Sam wants a whole other book.
I know. We're reading that book and it's like, you know, hey, we're with the Ousters right now. And they're like trying to prepare for the invasion from the evil Pax. Is like, that's a cool story, like from their perspective. But nope, we're following Kayak Boy down a river.
It's starting to feel like he's like ascended above all these concepts. This is just a burden to him. So none of this is going to be addressed. None of this is going to be explained. It's going to be free and he's going to go to Svoboda and just free himself and do whatever he wants. And just explain it in like something completely different. Just go his way and embrace freedom of writing. That's the deal here.
I am entirely ready to believe that I do not have the enlightened perspective to understand the genius of this book. That is 100%. I believe that. I would not be surprised.
Explaining
so
all this
I accept
reference
that.
is beyond him. It's like not relevant anymore, literally and figuratively.
Yeah. Alas, the commander, she makes it very clear that there are no civilians in this war. Everyone's a target. Everything dies. They're also to be on the lookout for an old web-era ship, which De Soya recognizes as the console ship, and they're to destroy it on sight if they see it. So everyone wants to kill Aenea now. It's no longer capture, except for maybe the Mercantilus. It's kill on sight. We cut back to Raul on the Mississippi. Dawn comes, and soon enough he sees the Farcaster portal in the middle of the water. But it looks different. Guess what this Farcaster portal is? Danielle will give you 5 points. Philip will give you 100 points if you get it.
So he comes upon a Farcaster portal and we're trying to guess what the Farcaster portal is.
It is something that you might expect to find near the Mississippi River.
It's a water lily.
A delta.
No. What do the Farcasters look like? The portals of the Tethys River.
It's a swarm of mosquitoes that are cyborgs and they morph into the Farcaster.
That's better.
Tom Sawyer's Raft.
Oh, so close. No, it is the Gateway Arch in St. Louis.
Oh, of course it is.
Of course it is. They've repurposed the Gateway Arch as the Farcaster Arch.
I have to look this up. I don't know what this looks like, but I have to see this now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's okay.
So there's a brief digression where the ship's comm, because he has the shell has the comm log bracelet that has the ship's brain in it, and it tells him, hey, yeah, St. Louis, the Gateway Arch was all this manifest destiny thing about the gateway to the west, and it was all about, displacing indigenous people. True. But now it's been repurposed as a Farcast portal, I guess, by the Lions of Tigers and Bears, because St. Louis was destroyed even before the great mistake of 2008 and has been reclaimed by the river.
It's like a big white arc, right?
It's a big arch. It looks like an arch. I don't know. Think of an arch. You got it. Think of an arch. You got it.
Yeah, it's symbolic.
It's not even like the Arc de Triomphe where it has carvings or the arc. It's just an arch.
It's just a big, yeah.
It's a big, like a rainbow without the bow or the rain, I guess, or the colors.
The rain or the bow.
It's an arc. I don't know what to call it. Anyway, Raul passes beneath the arch and emerges in a busy canal, a planet full of people, and there are boats and kayaks on the river near him. He's like, uh-oh. He identifies it as Lucis. No one has noticed his appearance because the arch was built into a wall on Lucis, and also he just came out like a tunnel, like a dark tunnel. So his sudden appearance is not suspect. He then interrupts himself again to say that it was his temptation to describe his interworld odyssey in great detail, and he will do that despite what he says to the contrary. But he assumes it would be similar to his previous journey out to Earth with Aenea, where they'd be going through mostly unpopulated, empty worlds. But now he's finding he's going through all these populated Pax planets, which is way more dangerous because he sticks out. He doesn't have like the proper clothes. He doesn't have any identification papers or the cruciform. So if he like steps to get food at a cafe or something, he's going to be immediately identified and arrested. So this is like super dangerous. He's got to keep moving basically. So he hopes that he can get to the next arch and get to another planet and maybe find one more secluded where he can stop and like eat and sleep and all that kind of stuff. 6 hours later, he goes through the portal to another fairly popular world called Freude, German word, meaning joyous, I suppose. I looked it up.
Confirmed.
Freude. It's not Freud. I thought it might be a reference to Freud, but it has an E on the end of it, so...
It's Freude.
Go figure. Freude, yes.
Like Schadenfreude?
Yeah, that's exactly the same word, yes.
Yeah! Good pull, Danny. I didn't put that together. I thank Phil for the proper pronunciation. I would not have gotten that right. My apologies to literally everyone for not saying things.
You said it right in Czech and in German.
I mean,
today.
Okay, great. So on Friday, he finds a large sewer pipe to sleep in for a whole day. He then goes through a portal to Nevermore, which is the goth Edgar Allan Poe planet, which we spend so little time on, and I'm so upset about that. We spend so much time on the boring desert world of Hebron or whatever, but no time on Goth Poe world. You're killing me, Simmons. You're killing me.
It's like he says a bunch of things and then picks the least interesting thing to follow.
It is absolutely what I like. Get me like he's like there are castles and like gothic at the stay on like get me a freaking Raven on Nevermore, man. Let's have a blast. It'd be like there's a story in Ray Bradbury's Martian Chronicles about like people being murdered by Edgar Allan Poe like contraptions on Mars, and it's really cool. I think it does something cool with that here. It's not that cool as it is in the like. Just blast past it. No cool Edgar Allan Poe murders. So, alas. Anyway, he goes to another portal, ends up on the planet called Vitus Gray Balianus B. So, not nearly as cool, but good name. You gotta give Simmons props for the names he does. No one names planets better than Simmons. Anyway, this is another desert planet, and soon Raul is out of water and is forced to pull over when he sees a village with an artesian well. The populace seems to be mostly not looking at it, like avoiding him out of politeness or just sort of like, not really our business. Then he suddenly doubles over in abdominal pain. He then spends 2 paragraphs assuring us that he's no wuss. He's experienced pain before in the Home Guard or wherever, but that this pain was worse than anything he'd ever felt before. Doubled over and writhing, a vague shape of a local comes over and asks, "Hey, buddy, do you need any help?" Raul merely cries out in agony as people surround him and try to help him up, but he's too far gone to make out what's happening. And we're going to end it for this part. Oh. We did it, guys. Oh. We made it through.
Was that really where you're going to end it to begin with?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I thought it'd be much longer.
Well, to be fair, like the first 2 chapters are like 3 times longer than each of the last chapters because he spent so much time digressing about Frank Lloyd Wright's biography and whatnot.
Oh my God.
Well, Philip, you've done it. You survived your first episode of Book Retorts listening to Hyperion. Now you know what Danielle goes through, and...
No, I know.
I'm sorry. I know you agreed to this, but we wouldn't look down on you if you needed to bail. Like, this is too much. I didn't bargain for this.
Time. Thank you again for having me, and I'm very, very blessed that my curse is being lifted by you and not me reading it. So I have to know how this ends, and it seems like it's gonna be more of what we
more of the same. Yeah.
We're gonna have to train Filip how to just cut people off and keep talk over you.
No.
I get on a roll with this, and I know you're enraptured by my thrilling summary, but you're welcome to just tell me to shut up for a second so you can acknowledge something insane I just said.
I cannot interrupt. I have on the edge of my seat. I have to soak in all the details.
Okay.
Yeah. Oh gosh. I'm blushing. Oh gosh, Filip.
He does look much more serious than I do. I'm like, no.
I'm trying so hard to understand like any through line or
that's
plot
it.
line.
Filip is actually trying to make sense of the story.
I just let it wash over me. Look how well it worked. Look at my summary. Why are you trying so hard, Filip?
This is like an interesting, like Taoist, you're like the uncarved block, Danielle. You just let nothing is there. You're a blank slate. And Filip is trying so hard to get engaged. I'm not sure which is the better philosophy.
I wish I was a sponge, but instead I'm like a rock at the sea with a lot of holes, and it's like splashing all the stuff, and it's going in and out. So.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean to say that it's like an exercise in challenging yourself to open new horizons, like Dan Simmons himself. He, like you said, sets up all these interesting things, then he picks up the least interesting one and goes into that real hard and real deep. So only when you
that's a challenge.
Only when you lose everything can you be completely free. So he has to get rid of all the interesting ideas, and only then can he have the magnificent finale idea.
See, this is why I'm glad you're here, Filip. You have so far given me 3 or 4 different perspectives on why this book is genius, and I buy every one of them. You're doing really good work here justifying this book, and I appreciate it because Danielle has no time for it. She is out of patience.
I'm over it. I'm glad you find the depth in it.
Yes, I need that.
I'm not so sure I found any depth, and I have to admit it's challenging sometimes to stay focused on what's happening. Because there's so much going on that don't connect it. It's just the biggest problem with these books.
Yeah.
You just have to believe. True. With Dan Simmons, you have to believe that he's just going to figure it out in the end, even though 90% of the time he will not. But it holds you through. You're like, in the end, I'm going to know.
It's the hope that keeps you going.
The prediction I didn't ask you to guess was, are we going to be satisfied at the end of this?
No.
No.
It's not a prediction, that's just reality.
I have faith. I think we are going to somehow wrap it up because he has to. He said it out, and he said it on the synopsis. When you look at the book cover, it says it right there. Everything's going to be explained. Everything's going to be answered. It says it right there. So
good.
Yeah.
You know what, Filip? I'm so glad we have your optimism to offset our cynicism because, boy, it's a new flavor for this podcast. Is blind optimism.
You're pretty optimistic,
and we need it.
I have a question for Filip. What do you think the percentage chances that this series is going to end on a Wizard of Oz reference?
It's it started with it, so I'm going to say 88%.
I also love how he started out by making the first book a Canterbury Tales. And it's I'm done with that idea now. No more
just completely departs from it.
Yeah.
He's I'm going to go into random nonsense now. Wizard of Oz stuff now. That was a legitimately interesting perspective to have Canterbury. Not all the stories were successful, but I think they're all interesting framing device. And now the framing device is guy in a box writes down too much.
Yeah.
But there's a lot more plot in this opening than the opening of Endymion, that's for sure.
The Endymion opening was the most... I don't even know how to describe it. It's just I couldn't deal with anything. I couldn't focus on anything.
It's very slow. This book goes in hard immediately with politics, machinations, torture, architecture. I guess it does slow down a bit there. But
cats.
Frank Lloyd Wright biographies, cats, yes. Phantom of the Shrikra.
The Schrödinger quantum box, whatever, coffin in space.
Yeah,
when I read about it, I was I can't anymore.
That's fair. That's very fair.
I was told I shouldn't be reading this anyway, so I was I'm just gonna listen to you guys, and it was so much better than just reading
it. Pretty solid summary.
Yeah.
From Danielle, yes. From me, not so much.
No. I just feel if you listen to the summary, you pretty much get the book. Not my summary, your summary.
Oh, okay. You get the big points. There's a lot of nuanced philosophy background that I'm leaving out for obvious reasons. So, as with all of our sharing of media, you're not getting a scholarly interpretation of these books. You're getting these are the craziest things that stuck out to me that I think might be important.
This is the beauty of the writing, because every single person who sums it up completely different.
Yeah, exactly. And I think it's magical. It's magical in that
So
way.
we've done how many chapters out of how many chapters? Do you know?
6 out of 36
or 37.
Yeah, so my goal is to keep We're only about 15% through the book. I want to be 18% of the way through the book to keep on pace, but we'll have to make that up next time.
I was expecting you will do like 2 chapters and there's going to be 80 of them, so this is much later than I expected.
The good thing about Dan Simmons is, like I said, they're big books, but you can skip over most of the stuff. You can cut out all the biographies and recaps of the previous books and, reminders of the life. Like, there's a lot of stuff that is...
The Keats poetry.
The Keats poetry, describing a house for 4 or 5 pages, all that kind of stuff. You can just sort of, like, it's fine. It's just not particularly plot relevant. And if we're going to winnow it down to the plot, some things have to go.
Okay. Well, thank you so much again for having me. Unless you kick me out, I'm definitely not leaving. So.
Oh, I don't think we could do... I think Danielle needs the moral support of nothing else.
I absolutely need somebody else here.
Thank you.
On my last legs.
I can't tell you, like, honestly, both Danielle and I were very much like, we have to finish Hyperion, but like, man, I don't want to read it and you don't want to listen to me talk about it. Cause like, there'd be so much work. I'm like, hey, if we get Filip involved, then we get some like more energy, we get some like new life into this. Now we're like happy to do it. Like, yeah, let's do this. We got Filip on the board.
To be hype. More hype next time.
You're the one who's like making this happen. So this is your fault. That's what I'm trying to say. Blame him.
We had to finish for Filip.
Yeah.
I do need this. I'm not going to lie. I do need to finish this.
All right. Well, if you out there want to write into us and congratulate Danielle on her amazing summary, I think best summary ever.
Yeah, I got 90% of the way through.
Yeah. You can do so at bookretorts.com.
You can also tweet, Instagram, or Facebook us at bookretorts.
And if you want to help fund our commission on creating a Shrieker of the opera, Phantom of the Shrike, whatever you want to call it, a Shrike Phantom opera musical, a Hyperion musical, you can do so at patreon.com/bookretorts.
It's going to be great.
And Filip, where can they find you and your many wonderful works?
You can find my podcast at mindduckbooks.com or just search mindduckbooks at any platform. We do much shorter, just like a...
That's hard.
Ouch. But fair. Ouch, but fair.
Yeah, okay, let me rephrase that. Excuse me. Much
more
less
focused and
focused
professional.
And much less professional discussions about books per episode.
More professional, please.
More professional.
I've listened to your podcast. You have transitions and everything. You do it right. We just got rambling on our podcast.
We try to find the next mind-blowing book. So we try to get you into it and find a book you actually want to read, like in the first half, and then the second half is like the plot synopsis, which is very short. So it's not by far doing the book justice as much as Sam and Danielle are doing, because they actually explain everything, they actually go in depth and actually talk about the details. We kind of like skim through it and we discuss some parts about it and we let it to the readers to discuss, like to get into them themselves. So yeah, if you need to have Hyperion explained, the Hyperion Cantos series, I would 100% recommend re-listening to all of the episodes from Book Retorts.
Yes,
I think it's great.
They're going to be like 36 episodes or whatever so far, 30-some episodes.
It is the reason you started this podcast after all, and it's doing it justice, so I would recommend it wholeheartedly.
Wait, I did that wrong. It's like 20 episodes. Whatever. It feels like 30-something. I'm tired. But yes, thank you, Phil. Definitely do check out Mind Duck Books. I definitely got some good recommendations from your podcast, so I appreciate that.
And if you want to listen to Filip more on our podcast, you can listen to our Slugs episode.
Yes!
Or listen to his Slugs episode, and we're on there.
Or his Hyperion episode, because he also did a Hyperion episode with Danielle and myself. And boy, if you want a much shorter summary of Hyperion, definitely check that out. You don't have to waste, like a week of your life.
Definitely enjoy the collab, the double feature movie and book. So we should do that sometime again. It was lots of fun.
Oh, yes.
Definitely.
If you're not sick of us after this, then nothing's going to prevent that from happening. All right. Well, until next time, keep your eye out for that Shrike. He could pop up anywhere for a show, a concert.
Pop-up rave.
Pop-up rave. Pop-up Shrike. Well, until then, bye.
Take care, everybody.
looking at this book series. There is also Hyperion Cantos 0.5, Prayers to the Broken Stones. It's also a book. And that one's 400 pages, so watch out.
Oh, well, maybe I'll make Danielle do that one. Or you can do that one, Filip, and present it.
Can you imagine? That'd be so funny. Me trying to, like, explain stuff that I can't remember. So good.
This might be better than you think, because on the synopsis it says, during a post-apocalyptic Christmas celebration, a messenger from the south brings tidings of great horror. ...
Danielle, how do you not want to read it? You could do it for the holiday
bazaar. It's like
bazaar.
the Hyperion Christmas special.
That sounded like the plot of the Ice Planet Barbarians Christmas special.